Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Squadron Leader Charlene McGibbon. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony around Australia. We also welcome the third class of the Royal Military College of Australia, Duntroon, who are joining us for the service today. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors and students on behalf of St John's Lutheran Primary School, Bundaberg, Queensland. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please sit if you wish to do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops and stayed with them on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we pay tribute to Pilot Officer James Maxwell Levy, who was killed on active service with the Royal Air Force on the 17th of December, 1944. Born in the Melbourne suburb of Kew on the 7th of July, 1917, James Maxwell Levy was the son of James Edgar Levy and Florence Levy. Young Max attended Canterbury State School, Mont Central School, and Scotch College. He worked with his father in the wool trade as a wool buyer and classer, and served in the 2nd Field Brigade of the militia. Levy enlisted in the Australian Air Force on the 17th of September, 1940. Once in the RAF, he began training as a pilot, and in November 1941, he embarked in Sydney for overseas service. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 16,000 RAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, gunners, and engineers who, throughout the course of the war, joined Royal Air Force squadrons. Levy's journey took him to San Francisco, and from here, he traveled to Ontario, Canada, where he undertook more training before departing to Halifax. Arriving in Britain in May 1942, he undertook further specialist training before being transferred to India in April 1943, where he was posted to number 45 Squadron, Royal Air Force. Number 45 Squadron was one of the very few Allied units to have engaged German, Italian, Vichy French, and Japanese forces during the Second World War. Levy served a full tour with the squadron, flying Vultee Vengeance dive bombers, and continued when it was re-equipped with the de Havilland Mosquito. While flying on operations over Burma on 17th December 1944, James Levy was killed at Yazayo, Burma. He was 27 years of age. His body is buried in the British and Commonwealth War Cemetery at Imphal, India. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among some 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Pilot Officer James Maxwell Levy, who gave his life for us, for our freedom, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and good evening.